I reminisce.
Here we go. I saw there's a winter storm coming for the Midwest,
People
so
are looking to break their bad habits with a
you
New
might
Year's
as well watch
resolution
this.
that probably won't last long. There's a more efficient way to break your bad habits. I'm talking about today's sponsor, Fume. Not everything in a bad habit is wrong, so instead of a drastic, uncomfortable change, why not just remove the bad from your habit?
Fume.
Fume is an innovative, award-winning flavored air device that does just that. Instead of electronics,
Okay,
Fume
so
is
it's like
completely natural.
smoking?
Instead of vapor, Fume uses
Okay,
flavored air.
yeah, it
And
is.
instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses all
Except
natural, delicious flavors.
it's not
It's a habit you're free to
tobacco.
enjoy. It makes replacing your bad habit easy. It fills the void in a natural, guilt-free way. Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, giving your fingers a lot
I've
to
seen
do,
some
which
other
is helpful
people,
for de-stressing while breaking your habit.
sponsor
There's tons
this.
of flavors, and crisp mint is my favorite.
Well,
so
it was
far.
sponsored
And
by
orange
this
vanilla
company.
is a close second. The look and feel of the real wood and the shape makes you feel like you're really holding a quality piece.
I don't
Stopping a
smoke,
bad
so
habit is something we all put off because it's hard.
Man.
But switching to
I used to
is
smoke
easy,
blacks,
enjoyable, and even fun. Fume has
but I haven't
served over
smoked blacks in so
150,000
long.
customers and has thousands of success
Why
stories.
is this so
There's no reason
loud?
that can't be you. Head to tryfume.com/nightmare or scan the QR code and use code NIGHTMARE to get 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today.
Journey pack.
I own 3 pieces of real estate, 2 of which I rent out on Airbnb.
Oh, lucky you.
The third property is my house in Montreal, where I live. Where this story took place was my rental property in Wakefield, Quebec. It's a comfy small home in the woods that's advertised as such. It's a 2-bedroom, but since it's a small house, it's geared more towards couples. Sometimes I'll have groups of 4 or more staying there. Those are the groups I usually worry about because they're the ones who
And
do
they're
damage.
all weekend banging.
Couples, they usually clean up pretty well after themselves, and I trust a cleaning lady to go take care of the place afterwards. After a bigger group stay, I usually take the drive over there myself to clean and make sure nothing was damaged or stolen. It's only about 2 hours, and when I do decide to take the drive there, I'll most often stay the night there anyway. This was after a bigger group stayed for a weekend, so I wanted to go up there and just clean and check on the place. I let my nearest neighbor know I was heading up there for the day. Like me, he's also hardly ever there. So when I do go up there, I reach out to him to see if there's anything he wants me to bring around back, like his mail or packages. He texted back pretty quickly that he won't be up there this week, and he'd appreciate it if I could check if there's mail from a specific person. So on my way to his house, I pulled up his driveway to his mailbox. As I walked over to it, I saw footprints in the snow alongside the house.
I was thinking he was about to say
Before
footprints or
investigating
something.
that, I checked his mailbox, and there were just
Or,
a few junky-looking envelopes, like credit
Or somebody just sitting there just like, you pull up somebody like on the side of the house. Just can you imagine like coming home, whether it's snowing or not, and like it's dark out and you drive up in your driveway and when you turn into it, your headlights flash onto somebody and they just standing there like on the side of your house. Not necessarily they like you caught them doing anything, they just standing there. Or they had a like even I don't know which is weirder. Now thinking about it, like if they facing you or they not facing you. I guess if you see someone's like just face staring at you, maybe that might be scary. I don't know.
I told him
Never
there's
had
no
that
mail from
happen,
the person
so.
he mentioned, and then I let him know that someone had walked on his property. It wasn't the mailman because the footsteps came from
Is that
the
a
woods.
camera on
Approached
his?
the window and then walked around to the back. He called me and he told me to check where the footprints led to. I followed them all around the house, and then they led off into the woods on the other side of the house. He said as long as they didn't break in, I don't give a shit. So I left and drove the remaining minute up the hill to my house. The second I got out
I
of
don't
the
care
car,
until there's a
I noticed
problem.
a bunch of footprints in the snow around the property. The guests
Like, well, I
left a
told
couple
'em.
days ago, and it had snowed there the day before I arrived, so it was a little interesting that their footprints didn't fill in yet. There was more snow coming tonight, so they'd surely be filled by tomorrow. The first thing I did was change the security lock on the front door for the next visitors.
Somebody
Walking into
going
the
around
house,
casing the
kind of a
place.
mess. They left the sink full of dishes and glasses, the garbage bin was full, and cans of pop and beer were everywhere. Some guests are like this because they figure, hey, we're paying a cleaning fee anyway. I triple checked everything to make sure nothing was
I mean, it's
taken or
true.
missing, and then I began cleaning. I had music playing as I cleaned, but even over the
But
music, I
still,
heard
you
something
could
from
clean up a
outside.
bit.
My house is all the way up on a hill surrounded by woods. No one should ever be here. I turned off the radio, and I heard footsteps in the snow right outside the house. They just passed a window, now going to the backyard. I went to make sure I locked the front door, and then I didn't make any noise. Whoever was out there had to know I was here because my car was out front. After like 20 minutes of sitting in the living room, I decided to get up and go outside to look around. Sure enough, there was a fresh trail of footprints circling the house. I followed them all around the house, and then they seemed to just stop or overlap in the back of the house by the window air conditioning unit. I looked out to the woods, feeling like someone was just out there watching. So I went back inside and didn't go outside again that day. I ordered a lot of food on Grubhub that took forever to be delivered, which ended up being my late lunch and dinner. How I spent the rest of my day after cleaning and doing the laundry was just working remotely on my laptop. It was snowing again outside, and it was supposed to snow all night, meaning I'd definitely have some people looking to rent the next few days for the cozy factor. That's usually how it goes. After I was done with work and it was like 8 o'clock, I started watching a movie. And during the movie, I was hearing these.
I was just thinking, I wonder how many places actually get broken into, like these Airbnbs, where, because you can case a joint and see like, okay, well, no one goes in here, or it's like random, and you can tell, okay, there's someone's using this as an Airbnb. Like one of the houses, not necessarily in my neighborhood, but it's a little bit further down, like technically in another neighborhood, because a creek cuts through my neighborhood and another one's. I've seen people like that because the house is right on the corner. I've seen random different cars in there, and it'll be like weeks, no cars will park there in the driveway, and then all of a sudden I've seen vans there. You know, it's I think that's the Airbnb. But like I was saying, I'm curious how many people like break into places like that, especially remote places. Like his place seems to be out almost in the middle of nowhere with like neighbors that are probably far and few between. So it's like you could just break up in there and see if there's anything valuable, especially if you case in the place and you see someone's there and then they leave, and then you break in there when they're gone, you know, because you might want to be, well, I want to break in there when I think stuff is in there, because if it's an Airbnb, more than likely it's nothing really of value in there from the owner, but the people staying there might leave something valuable. So you're like, well, wait until they leave. You didn't see, especially if you're watching the place and you didn't see them take out any luggage and things. So you're like, oh, they still there, but they going somewhere, and you break in there. Now, the one thing about this is it's in such a remote area that, from what he's explaining, that you probably see somebody casing the place or watching, you know, or maybe they keeping a distance and casing it when nobody's around. You know, that'd be smart. But the place like this, if you right up on the woods, you can just, somebody could go up in the woods and hide and just look and watch you until to see when you leave. If they want to wait till you leave, maybe they want to break in while you're there, which is also scary. That is always scared me as a kid, though. There's someone who, because that happened to me when I was really young. I think I was like, where we were living at the time, I had to been like 6, maybe 7. Well, 5, 6, or 7. But somebody like walked around to the side of the house, because they walked to the front door, knocked on the door, and my dad told me, he was like, "You better never open this door for anybody. I find out you damn, I'll beat your ass." And one time he did beat me because he thought I didn't even open the door. It was for his friend, and I was like, "No, I talked to him through the door." But he told me, like, don't open the door. But I was like, I saw who it was, and I was like, oh, that's my dad's friend. And I was like, my dad's not here. He was like, okay, he didn't even ask to come in. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, I'll just come back later. And I don't know how my dad walked in the house. I told him his friend was there, and he was like, yeah, no, and he just slapped the shit out of me. I was like, he's like, do I tell you about answering the door when I went to answer the door when no adults are here? I was like, I didn't open the door, and I guess he was thinking because I spoke to him, because maybe his friend told him that I talked to him through the door. But anyway, that's something else. Somebody came to the front door. It was a white guy. Came to the front door, and he knocked on the door. And I'm sitting there by myself. Also, like I was by myself when that happened with my dad, but when his friend came to the door. But this, I was by myself as well here. They had knocked on the door a few times. I'm sitting there watching TV. I saw him coming up, so I muted the TV. and and we always had the blinds kind of closed where you could see out, but the person couldn't see in. And then he walked around to the side of the house. And when he walked around, I ran to where the side door is at, because we had a door that where you parked in the driveway, you can come in on the side of the house that led into a hallway that led to the basement, and also to another door that opened up near the kitchen and another bathroom that we had on the first floor. And when I just ran to the house, like, what's he doing? Because I was going to try to look out the side window, because we had a window in that spot, and then we had another little small window in the bathroom, but I couldn't see out that window. And both windows up kind of high, but the one in the bathroom was actually up higher. And when I ran around to the side, the door was open, so I could see down and into the stairway that led to the basement, and you could see the side door. And I saw the knob turn, and I was like, and when that happened, it's my heart started beating so fast. Just thinking about it reminds me just how scared I was. Like, and he was like turning, and I was like, what the hell? And then he walked around to the back, and we had big windows in the back, all across the back, and that you could see into the backyard. But that's where the kitchen was at. And we had like little thin curtains up there, but you could see right through those curtains, basically. If a light was on inside, you could see right, but there was no light on inside, and it's bright outside. It'd be harder to see, especially because everything was brown except the tile on the floor was green and white. Just ugly thinking about it now. But anyway, this dude walked to the back, came up the stairs that we had on the back that led to the back door, and you can't see into the kitchen from that side, because it's kind of hard, because the kitchen is up. It wasn't like on ground level when you walked around the back of the house. It was just like kind of up, so you couldn't like see directly into the kitchen. You'd had to, even if you walked on top of the stairs, you could only see on the side, but it was like this whole other part of the kitchen you couldn't see, in the walkway into the kitchen that you couldn't see. You had to try to like hang over and see, but you wouldn't be able to see that. You would fall over before that would happen, because also was no railing. So I'm standing there, and then I walked into the kitchen, and I'm standing there trying to make sure he didn't see me, or because I was like, what if he jumps up and tries to look in here, because the curtains were also open. So the curtains didn't even matter because they were open. This dude turned the knob on the back door too. He was like, you get and the lock was catching. And man, my heart was beating so fast in my chest. So remember, I was feeling so scared, because I was like, what if he just, because in my head, what if he just tried to kick down the door? And I was and he walked back around. He kind of, and I don't know what he was doing, I couldn't see him, but I heard him walk back down the steps, because the screen door closed. And I heard him walk back down the steps, and I was like, which way is he going? And I kind of went at the bottom and tried to look over out the window, and I was like, he might see the top of my head, and I was like in the corner trying to like angle my head to look out so he couldn't see me. He was already gone. And then I ran to the front, and I saw him walking, and the weird thing was he had like overalls on, and he walked out the driveway, because he parked in the driveway, and I don't remember what type of car it was. Thinking about it, and I can't remember, but he walked, and he kind of looked back, and he looked back. I was looking like out the window, And even though I knew the blinds where he couldn't see me, it's still scary because he just like, and he like like swung around so fast. I was like, I like ducked down, and then he kept got in his car and backed out and left. And I told my dad, like, somebody was in here, some white guy, and I didn't even tell him about turning a knob. I just said some white guy came in overalls. He was like walked around back. I don't know who it was, but I know like a few weeks later, electricity and heat got turned off, in which we lived for 2 years like that. But I was like, maybe that's what. But I don't remember seeing like, cause those trucks usually like white from what I remember. The power, I don't know about the gas, but anyway.
Creaks and cracks in the ceiling that I'd never heard before. There's no attic, so it was weird. My only idea was that it could be the weight of the fresh snow on the roof. After the movie, I went to bed.
Creaks and
hear
cracks
the
in the
snowflakes hitting the windowsill outside. It was so peaceful, but that unsettling sound of footsteps in the snow outside returned. The realization that someone was outside this late.
It could be a homeless person that's figured out how to get into the
Passed
roof.
my window, then faded away. I was sitting on the edge of my bed for like 20 minutes, waiting for any
Like
kind
what
of
a
sound,
insulation
like the
is
doors
at.
being shimmied with or something. Anything that would shift me from awareness mode to full-on defense mode. It was a long while of silence before I went outside in my coat and shoes with a baseball bat, and I walked around the house.
Go outside for what?
There was once again another fresh trail of footprints, but this time they started at the air conditioning unit, and they walked away towards the woods. I then put it together that someone was likely on my roof before, and they climbed up and down via the window AC unit. I went back inside and decided to call the police.
Why?
A Wakefield police officer came to the house maybe 20 minutes later. We looked outside together.
Is it
He
Krampus?
climbed up onto the roof and told me there were indeed footprints and such on the roof that would suggest that someone had been up there. He was very nice and reassuring.
Maybe he's
telling
trying
me
to
he wouldn't be far away if I heard them come back.
find a way into
I
the
also
roof.
told him about the similar footprints at my neighbor's house, just as a warning in case this person or group of people is targeting multiple houses for whatever they're doing. As he left, he said he'd be in the area.
Probably thieves.
The next morning I left, and I rented the place out to a group of guests a few days later. They didn't report anything out of the ordinary. Thankfully, this was only an isolated incident that happened over a year ago.
I'm curious, why was he on the roof? Like, unless he was trying to figure out a way to get in, because he said he had no attic, but there is like space in your roof where they, put insulation and stuff like that. So you can, even though you can't walk like on like the floor of the roof, because your foot will go straight through because it's like the studs right there. Then it's basically just drywall with studs going like this way, so your foot can go in between those studs. Also, they're not made for you to be walked on, But if that was the case, like, as a homeless person that somehow found a way to get into the roof, but that would mean there's a hole in the roof, because like you said, there's no attic, so there's no like window in the roof. I always wanted to have a house with an attic, I would live there. Like, if I was living with anybody else, I would stay in the attic at the very top, even though I had to walk down the most steps. I always wanted to stay. Just watching movies, and they always had like the rebellious kid or some shit like in the attic or something. They'd be up there. You go up there, kind of like, it's almost like your own like little apartment, and just be up there, just chilling. But yeah, he said, because it's just like, what was he on the roof for? Unless he had to been trying to find a way in. But if there's no attic, that means there's a hole in the roof that he just crawled through. Because then it was like, it was a homeless person. He's just trying to find a warm place, or a place just out of the cold. But if it's a person's a thief, then he would, I guess, had to kick through the ceiling to get in. And then you're talking about a place, like, especially nowadays, like my brother, he got electronic locks on his door. You gotta know the code to get in like cipher locks and shit on his door. So then, because I've even been in some houses where they don't even have a knob on the door. I was like, where the fuck is the knob? It's like the door unlocks and it just opens a little bit, so you can just pull it open. I was like, where the fuck was the knob? I thought that was interesting, but I've only seen that once, so I don't know if that was maybe that technology didn't take off, or I don't know. Maybe they was beta testing and asked people, hey, we'll pay you to let us put this in your house just to beta test. I don't know. I thought that was weird, but yeah. The dude that's some crazy shit. He knowing he in the house too.
This is something that happened when I was, of course, home alone when I was a kid.
God, I hate snow.
I was in the 7th grade. My parents just recently started leaving me home alone. I would just play video games when they would be away.
Just
One night,
recently?
my parents were out doing whatever, and I was alone,
Shit.
playing video games. We
It
had the video games in the
second
basement
grade
so
when they
that my
start
older
doing
brother
that.
and I could share it, and our dad didn't want the video games in the living room.
Of
The
course.
basement at my parents' house is pretty big, but also, as little kids, it scared the crap out of my brother and I, where when it was time to go upstairs, we'd flick the light and spring up the stairs as if demons were chasing us. At 12, I obviously wasn't as scared as I was as a little kid, but I would still look over my shoulder every once in a while when I was
I was
down
about
there
to say,
alone,
where's the
especially if I was home alone.
I'm like, where's the game console? Because they clearly played the game. I was like, oh, it's PC. I was like, okay. Cause see this, and I was like, first I was like, that a VCR or what was it, an Atari or whatever? Cause like, what the fuck is this? And that might be a remote. And then I saw this shit. I don't even know what this shit is, and then I was like, there could be a PlayStation 3. But then I saw the keyboard and stuff, and I was like, okay, they probably playing PC in here. I'm just like, I'm not. That's what my mind immediately was. I was like, where's the game console at? They playing the game?
I was playing whatever
All these
video game I
damn
played
wires.
at the time, when bang, there was this crash at the basement window. I damn near jumped out of my seat as I turned around to look at the window. It sounded like someone hit their fist on the window.
That just startled me.
It was kind of dark out since it was cloudy and snowing outside. I looked at the window and noticed there were some snow particles on the window. It looked like a piece of snow might have hit it. My initial thoughts was that it was a falling icicle hitting the window. I tried to go back to playing video games, but the icicle theory melted when there was another loud bang on the glass. I stood up this time.
Somebody
looked
throwing
closer at the window.
snowballs.
There were even more particles of snow in the glass now. Someone was out there throwing snowballs out the window. I knew it had to be my brother Keith. I went upstairs into the backyard
Oh, you
door.
knew?
I opened the interior door and looked out through the glass exterior door. The brick wall to the left blocked view of the entire backyard, so I opened the door and stepped into the yard. With only a pair
Man,
of
why
slides
you
on
keep
my feet.
opening the doors?
Cold snow and air was blowing in my face as I stepped down the 2 steps to the ground level and looked beyond the brick wall.
That could be a trap. Somebody doing that because they want you to step out, and somebody be waiting there to just to grab you and go inside. Like why? Like if they're like they outside and they haven't broken any windows to get inside, I don't give a shit. I'm not going out there. Like I'm gonna go out there, but get out of my yard. So I'm like, even if I have a gun, I'm gonna be like, hey, wait till that motherfucker come in this house and show him my force multiplier. Like because no, like one thing I can't shoot him outside. Well, I guess you could shoot him on your property, but like if you just wait till he comes inside. Because like I said, you don't know if it's a trap to get you to open the door. Because people do like this, and people do this in real life. Like they open the door. My dad did this once. Like he thought he heard something outside. He opened the door and went and walked out. Walked down the steps into onto the lawn. I'm like, and I remember when we moved to an apartment, he did that. He walked outside. Somebody knocked on the door. I guess they had the wrong apartment because they ended up leaving, and we didn't answer the door fast enough. I was like, I ain't answering it. And my dad ended up answering it. He looked outside, opened the door. I'm like, first he didn't even look through the peephole. So what's the point of having that? You ain't gonna look through it. Looked at it. He looked like up the stairs to try to see if he saw somebody, because it hadn't been that long since they had knocked. And he walked down the stairs, because we was on the second floor. He walked down the stairs and then opened a little door into, I forget what that little area is called. It was like, because it was the main door, and when you walk out, and then you walk into this like little small area where the mailboxes are at, and then it's a glass door. You walk out of that. Well, not that apartment. That was a different apartment. But this apartment had a wooden door, but had like windows on the side. And he walked down there, walked through both those doors, which I was like, I don't know why he walked through the first door. Cause like that door closes and locks, but there was some phone books down there, so he had like blocked it so the door won't close. I was like, why are you walking all the way outside for? Like you walked all the way, you walked downstairs all the way through 2 doors and then walk outside. It's like, you gonna beat somebody's ass? Like my dad did. Like he was very confrontational.
I called Keith's name and said, "Why didn't you tell me?"
He'll go up somebody's head, drop a hat.
Someone in the bushes in front of the back.
Grown adult men
too. Clearly hiding. I said, "Keith, I see you." But the more I looked, the more scared I got, questioning if that was actually Keith.
It's not Keith.
And locked the door. I went straight to the phone and called my mom to ask her if Keith is supposed to be home. She told me no, he's at his friend's house.
Right there, that's when he peed a little bit.
Right at that moment, another snowball. I asked my mom.
Damn, they throwing some ice balls.
I told her there's someone in the backyard throwing snowballs at the windows. She now put me on speaker so my dad could talk too.
What do you mean? We asked her if she heard it. Like, did he think he was like hallucinating or something? I'm like, I don't need somebody like, did you hear that? Like, yeah, no, I heard it. I've heard, because you heard 2 hit the window already, and that's the 3rd one. And he's like, did you hear that? And like, yes, like as if he wasn't sure he heard what he heard. Like, plus he saw evidence because he was like, his snow particles on the like some snow had hit it. So, like, you're not delusional. Like, what? It's like, I don't get. He's like, did you hear that?
My dad asks if it's some kids messing around, and I said I don't know. I was just a kid, and I was freaking out. I asked, when are you guys going to be home? And they said soon. They're already on their way home. I remember my mom telling me
later.
Not let them know I'm home. But I said they already know because I went outside into the yard. So she told me to just wait upstairs in my room with the door locked. She was going to call the police.
Especially you the only one. They know you the only one because you the only one came out.
It was getting darker out. But when I looked out my window, I could still see. There was someone walking around the backyard. They were looking through the downstairs windows. And then I saw them knocking on the kitchen window, the one they threw the snowball at minutes ago. They thought I was still in there because the light was left on. Whoever it
knocking on the
they
window.
Weren't a kid. They looked too tall. Maybe they were an older teenager or something, but I couldn't tell because they had a jacket or a coat on with the hood up. I kept watching, and I saw they tried lifting open the window downstairs.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, in the dead of winter, those windows hadn't been unlocked for months. But one thing was for sure. They were trying to get into the house. He then started looking up at the upstairs windows, and that's when I ducked down. I didn't look out the window again. There was a crash at my bedroom window now.
Oh, boy.
He must have seen me. He threw a few snowballs at the windows.
Well, okay, this
dude's...
dude's...
It just stopped. My mom called me back to make sure I'm okay.
He just fucking with him?
The police are on their way. It took a long time, probably because of the conditions. But the doorbell eventually rang. So I went down to confirm it was the police before letting the police officer in. It was a lone female cop, probably in her 40s. She walked around the property with her flashlight as I stayed inside.
Was she by herself? That's stupid.
She checked the bushes, the shed, and the patio. When she came back front, she said there were footprints all over the yard, but that there's definitely no one out there. Not anymore, at least. She spoke to my mom on the phone for a few minutes, and then she told me that she's going to wait here until my parents got home. At the end of the day, my parents showed up, the cop left, and I was okay. It may have just been some weirdo or some teenagers playing some messed up prank, though the guy trying to open the window makes me think otherwise. If it were an attempted break-in, it was clearly the dumbest attempt ever after alerting me with the snowballs.
Yeah, I don't think that was attempted.
I think it was someone that was just trying to scare me.
Yeah.
Just to be a twisted individual.
But he did want to get in because he clearly tried to open the window. So he may have had ill intent.
Many years ago, I went with my
Oh,
girlfriend
that's
Trish, my
nice.
friend John, and his girlfriend Katie to the Colorado
I don't want to
Rockies in the
walk
dead of
through it,
winter.
but just look at
John
it.
is a longtime friend of mine who I love to do outdoor activities with, like hiking, snowboarding, and mountaineering. John's family owns a cabin there, so we stayed there for a couple nights. We picked a weekend with snow in the forecast. When we arrived to the cabin, there was already snow on
Wow.
the ground, but there was more snow in the forecast for the next day. The first night we got there, we all unwinded by jumping in the hot tub and having wine. The cabin is very remote in the middle of the woods. There were small snow flurries falling from the sky that night while we were in the hot tub. It was a sign of what was to come tomorrow. The next day, we all woke up to see it lightly snowing outside, lighter than the forecast had let on. Not much new snow had accumulated on the ground yet, but we still held out hope that it would continue to snow throughout the day. John fueled up the quad his family had in the big shed out back. We had to jump it with my car initially, but when it was up and running, we took turns riding it around the trails on his property. This went on for hours, as his property is massive. It has big openings perfect for drifting and doing donuts, and then it has tight, winding trails to ride through. Throughout this foggy day, it was snowing, but earlier in the day, it was a light snowfall. John rode around with Katie for a while Trish and I were outside
That
sledding
is
down this big hill
crazy.
on the property.
Going through
After a while of
in
this,
that
we all went
snow.
out for lunch. I took my pickup truck there, so getting around in the snow wasn't an issue. By the time we got back, the girls were ready for a nap. John and I said screw that, and we put on our hiking gear and went into the woods, climbing one of the trails we had been riding around on the quad. This trail went way up the mountain though, past John's property, so we began to climb. Both of us are really fit, so we're used to this kind of thing. But for the average person, hiking an uphill in the snow with heavy boots on can get very tiring.
Yes.
We hiked for about half an hour to an hour up the mountain before we
That's
made it near to the top.
why would y'all?
Or at the very least, we stopped at a spot that would have been an amazing view if it weren't so foggy and snowy. All we could see was white. We took a break up here though and sat in the snow. The snow was starting to come down a lot harder.
Yeah,
now.
it's like you knew it was
Forecast
gonna
was right.
snow. Yeah,
I asked John for like the third time, "Are you sure you know how to get back?" And he said, "Yes,
The third
absolutely."
time.
So he led the way back down.
That is not the time to be asking someone, "Are you sure you know the way back?" When you already up the fucking trail, and now you knew it. I guess so far where you got to the end of it. Now it's time to get back. Are you sure you know the way back? This is something you like. Hey, you know the way back. Like you know the way there. Because I was assuming you know the way there. They know the way back. Because it seemed like they were just climbing, and then they assumed that. Oh, because the snow wasn't falling as hard at the time as the forecast said it would. They thought, oh, it's not going to be that much. And then it started falling hard. Oh, shit, they were right. It just a little bit later. And now you up the damn trail already. And you climbed up a steep trail in the snow. And now it's snowing even harder. Like, well, you should have just stayed with the girls. Like, you're doing all this shit. Like, you should have waited until it stops snowing. Like if it's a forecast for heavy snow, and then you go out and like, oh, it's not snowing that hard, and then you decide, well, I'm gonna go out and drive somewhere, and then it starts to snow hard. Like, yeah, that's what they were talking about, dumbass. Like,
On the mountain. It was a full-on blizzard at this point, so we picked up the pace. Luckily, going down is
they're not always
easier than
right,
going up.
but still,
At some
better
point,
safe
as
than
we
sorry.
were descending, I heard this moaning, humming type sound coming from behind us out of nowhere. I told John to stop and asked if he heard that.
those
He
definitely
said no.
spirits of the mountain.
We stood still and waited. Then it happened again. There was this rumbling, moaning type sound coming from not far behind us. It didn't sound like an animal, it sounded human. We both turned and started going quicker down the mountain after hearing it. I said, "What is that?" And he said he has no idea.
Yeah, but he
We
know.
started to hear footsteps from behind us. I said to John to stop again, and then we stopped and listened. You know how it's dead silent during a snowfall?
Yeah.
That's why it was so easy to hear footsteps from behind us. It was so foggy and the forest was so thick, however, that it was near impossible to see whoever it could have been. John said that was definitely not the sound of an animal, and no animals would be following us,
humming.
especially when we're making noise.
Like that.
I suddenly felt a vibrating in my coat pocket. I took out my phone and saw Trish was suddenly blowing up my phone. She must have been trying to reach me, but I didn't have service until now, and all her texts sent at once. As we continued to walk, I took off my glove so I could answer what she was saying. But as I read her texts, I started to worry. She was asking if that's John and I outside
They're
the
already
cabin,
dead.
and that they're scared to go out there. I replied the best I could with my wet fingers. What do you mean? It didn't deliver. I tried calling, but it went to voicemail. I lost reception again. I told John about the text and said we have to hurry. All the while, we kept hearing humming and moaning sounds not
That's
far
why you
behind
should
us.
take a satellite
We were
phone
basically
when you go
running
out
at this
there.
point, all the way down back to the cabin. We finally saw the lights of the
That's
cabin
some
through the
old
quickly darkening
pissed off
woods.
Native American
We
spirit.
got to the cabin and knocked on the door for the girls to let us in. Once inside, the two of them started talking over to each other, trying to explain what happened. Basically, what they told us was that they saw two people walking around outside like 10 minutes ago, one of them stopping by the window and looking in. They were too scared to go over and shut the blinds until we got back, so they stayed hidden in one of the rooms. John went to his dad's room to get a gun. All the blinds were closed now. The problem was we still had to go out for dinner.
Oh, they said blind. 'Cause I was about to say, 'cause looking at this, I've been in a few log cabins, and there's quite a few of them that irritates me. They don't have any. They don't have any curtains. They don't have any blinds. Now, the ones that I will say, most of them did at least have the ones that didn't have blinds or curtains in like the living room or whatever, or the kitchen. They at least had them in the bedroom, so it was okay. But I was like, why don't you have blind? Like, even in where I live at, in the suburbs where I live, I've seen houses don't have curtains. You can just look. When you go out running or walking, you can just look right into their house and see them sitting there watching TV. I was like, you just don't. I mean, I know we live on a street where it'd be pretty obvious someone just standing there looking right into somebody's house. 'Cause you just, there's nothing to block them, to block your view of them, so that they easily be spotted. But you out here in the middle of nowhere or a real remote area, and somebody could be standing in a tree line or whatever, they could look in there, got binoculars. So now if you your house is in a spot where it's, probably like 40, 50 yards or so, maybe like even 100 yards maybe of space between the house and the tree line, and it'd be obvious for you to see somebody come out, but they could still stand at the tree line looking at you. It's just, and I just like, why don't you have curtains or blinds? I mean, you don't have to have them up. I mean, or have them open, but just have them so you can close them. Like,
So John and I went outside after tensions cooled. He brought the gun with us. We looked around quick, then told the girls that it was clear to come to the car. We didn't bother telling the girls about the sounds in the woods because it would just further scare them. We went to a diner, then came right back. We skipped the hot tub tonight and instead had a movie night inside.
that
I
was
was
smart.
interrupted by a loud and aggressive knock at the door. We all looked at one another,
Oh, boy.
and I could see the fear in everyone's eyes. John grabbed the gun off the table,
This
and he came back
Jason.
over to us. Whoever was out there knocked
Well,
again.
at least they had a gun.
John asked if he should threaten to shoot them. I said no, we should just remain quiet. There was never a third set of knocks. The girls went to the bedrooms, while John and I stayed in the living room, waiting in silence for about half an hour. He had the gun loaded, though I know he was hoping he wouldn't have to use it. The two of us opted to sleep in the living room that night so that we would be able to hear anything.
Now somebody gonna
We
look
made
through
it
the
through
window.
night. The next morning, we
Oh,
all
okay,
packed
I
up.
would think somebody gonna look through
I
the
helped John
bedroom
clean
window.
up and put everything back into the shed outside. Then we left. But the really weird part was that there were no footprints at all in the snow outside the next day.
Ooh.
It's possible that they were filled in by the new snow, but still, it seemed weird. Whatever was going on there that night couldn't have been good.
It was Krampus. So I ain't leave footprints. That is, I mean, it depends. I guess it depends on how hard it snowed. Because then you could see, because if it didn't snow too hard, then, oh, that's pretty good. That, frame rate didn't, well, it didn't like it went down at all. But, I guess because you can usually see, like, if you walk in snow and then it snows again, you can see, like, divots in the snow, like where it's not as high in other spots because somebody walked there or an animal walked there or something like that. But if you didn't see anything, then oh fuck. God damn it. Shit. I just realized something. I did a sound test to sync up the audio, and I didn't cut the microphone on OBS. So it's not going. I'm not gonna be able to sync it up that way. But I guess I could try to sync it up some other way. I just whatever. Well, I do it. That's why I do that at the beginning. I'm like, here we go. So I know I start at least after that, and then try to maybe sync it over my glasses. Even though it'd be too synced because I'm not factoring in the time it takes light to travel from the screen, so you can see it in my lenses. But anyway, hope y'all enjoyed my reaction, everyone. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe when you're here. Hit that bell if you want me to be notified when I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.